how they're going to create the growth for these communities. And in a lot of these communities that have been around for, I mean, not just decades, but coming up on a century, you know, I'm looking at West Haven, Clinton, even up kind of in the Oakley area, when they developed their water and their sewer systems, they didn't anticipate this growth. And so they know that at some point they're going to have to go in and spend the money to redo these areas. And that's not going to be cheap. So they've got a little bit of an extra incentive to do to force the smaller zoning so that they can funnel in enough money to make the improvements they need to make, which ultimately is a good thing. But it's not a good thing if you want to build your dream home on a big lot.
Well, I was just thinking, because Mike is downtown and you have a big backyard for it.
Yeah, we have 1/3 acre. And all the houses around us, there isn't a street. In the neighborhood, there's Blaine Avenue. In our section, Blaine doesn't exist, so everybody gets the benefit of that extra
Nice.
swing. But we've got a 1/3 acre lot that's been sitting up from us that's empty, and we've sent every investor we know to the person because we'd love to get a house on that.
Yeah. Where's that?
It's on Wilson Avenue, about 2050.
Okay, let's send it my way.
Yep.
Right.
I'll give you his information.
1/3 acre parcels, I love them.
Well, because I was thinking about that, because like really when you're in the Sugar House area, the backyards are not that big, and you really have this unique area that you have a lot more space, and that's how it's going to be in all these other areas. Like I just think of the Freedom Homes house you guys did last year in South Jordan, and that beautiful big backyard, and I'm like, that is going to be a hot commodity.
Yeah,
because you just aren't going to see that more and more.
exactly.
That's why we bought our house. Our kids actually have a backyard. Dad, we don't care about the house. We want the yard. It was awesome.
I love. You know what's funny is, you know, most of the time when we're building, it's really funny to see a couple of stereotypes that do tend to play out in a very true way. The missus typically is very concerned with the home. The kids only care about the yard. And the dads and fathers typically like the garage. That's their focal point. If you're putting a 4-car garage in, it's typically because the mister wants it. But there's always a give and take, right? Because mister just spent $40,000 making his garage bigger. Well, you know, Mrs. gets to put that into the design of the home. And of course, that's a little bit of a stereotype,
Yeah,
and we build with a lot of different people, but it's funny to see some of those things that do hold true throughout the homes. But for kids, it's all about the backyard. Oh my gosh, I love it.
So, I mean, this episode is talking about how to build your dream home, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that's something that, like, you see on HGTV, you see on all these places. Everyone wants this nice space that's theirs, that's custom. So, like, with that, I mean, what are some of these tips with the building and design phase? Actually, before I ask that, this is just a personal.
Okay.
So, upgrades, right? Everyone has upgrades as a
Mhm.
builder. Let's ask this first.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase all this, because I feel like this is what people want to know. My brain just starts going. Okay, so we're talking about dream homes, and it's so much fun to build your own home and to customize it. But every builder has upgrades. I want to know, in your opinion,
Yeah.
what are the upgrades to get that are better improving the home, and what are the upgrades that don't matter?
No, it's a really great question. So, and a lot of it depends on what kind of builder you go with. Okay, and there's three primary, we'll call it building markets out there. There's production, sometimes called cookie cutter. There's semi-custom, which very few builders do and do well. And then there's fully custom, right? Fully custom, we're not even going to talk about that because you need your own lot, typically your own architect, often your own structural engineer, and then you hire a contractor, and you know, you'll find out how much that costs when you move in.
Pricey.
It is. Fully custom is pricey, and there's a reason for it. It's a great way to build if you've got a wonderful, wonderful, practically unlimited budget, and you've already got a piece of land you want to build on. So next we'll go to the cookie cutter style, the production style.
Yeah.
You're going to get some design autonomy, okay? But structurally, good luck. I mean, they're not going to move things for you because that doesn't fit their style. That doesn't fit their business model. Okay, if you start making changes and they have to re-engineer things, you're out. So if you're going with a cookie cutter production builder, I need to remember to say production, not cookie cutter. Think about color schemes, being somewhat neutral, something that's not going to be offensive to the next person that buys it. That's a very good train of thought, because if you're going with a production builder, on average, you're going to be in your home for 3 to 5 years max. So,
Really?
So pick the colors that are going to be easy to resell. Don't have 4 bedrooms with 4 different colors that you're going to have to spend a couple $1,000 to paint them all white, redo the trim, yada, yada. Now let's talk about semi-custom. That's where we live and breathe. Symphony Homes does it better than any builder in this state. Absolutely.
Well, you guys have won countless awards to back that up.
Countless, yeah. And from Utah County, Salt Lake County, Davis County. I mean, my gosh, there was one year in Davis County where I think we won every single award that the HBA had. We swept it. It was awesome.
And the HBA is the Home Builders Association.
Nailed it. Perfect.
Just putting that
Sorry,
out there
yeah.
for those that don't know. I only know that from last year.
No, that was perfect. Yeah, so the Home Builders Association, we won every single one of them. So when you're working with a semi-custom builder that's going to let you make structural changes, that's where you spend your money. You spend it on the structure, okay? You cannot make your garage bigger after you move in. Not for a good cost anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, you cannot make your dining nook or your dining room bigger. Again, not for a good cost. You can always hire somebody to knock out walls and expand it, but you're going to be double and triple your cost to just do it up front. So when you're building and you're building your dream home, focus the majority of your money on the structure of the home. If there's certain rooms you want to expand, start there. If you want a 4 or 5, 6 car garage, start there. If you know at some point, maybe you've got some older kids now and you're already planning on grandkids in the future, and you want a big dining room table to fit everybody, do a bump out in that dining room. Create that space or rearrange the plan so you've got a nice formal dining room to bring the family back to. But when you have the opportunity to change the structure, change the structure. And it comes down to little things as well. So everybody wants a kitchenette and a theater in the basement. But not everybody can afford to do those things up front. Everybody wants a gym in the basement these days. Gyms are not cheap to do. What is cheap to do is to have us rough in the space for your future needs. So we're talking, if you're going to do a projector, let us do the electrical and the HDMI cords and the Smurf tubes and everything going back to where that unit's going to be so that you can hide all those wires and do it easily. Let us put the drain and the water lines and the electrical outlets at countertop height for you, so that if you don't have the money to do that today, it's so easy to do 2, 3, 4 years later when you've got the funds to do it. If you want, one thing I absolutely love putting money into, I love spending my clients' money. It's my favorite. But one of my favorite things is put in a 10-foot basement.
What do you mean?
Oh my gosh. So your standard basement heights.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So your standard basement heights for a cookie cutter builder may be 8 feet. Our standard basement heights are 9 feet. If you take that up to 10 feet, it does a couple of really amazing things. Number one, it doesn't feel like a basement anymore. And A, because your ceiling is so high, but B, any window wells you have in the ground now can go a foot higher, which is letting more natural light in. And the way the American, family unit is going, kids are not leaving the house at 18 anymore. And there's a lot of reasons for that we can get into a little bit. But one of the primary ones is it is so expensive to rent and to get into that next home. So we're now seeing a trend where kids are hanging out in their parents' basements, 23, 24, 25. They've graduated college, they're building their business, and then they get the funds to move out. So keep that in mind if you're building your dream home, is have maybe a little bit of a mother-in-law space in your basement And even if you can't afford it today, let us get it ready for you. Let us put the plumbing where it needs to be. Let us put, a 220 volt outlet in there for a full kitchen at some point. It's little things like that take a little bit of thought up front. But if you do that, it's going to be so much easier and less expensive for you down the road, especially if you think about the cost of, the cost of labor and the cost of materials. If you put that basement apartment in 2010, or excuse me, in 2023, even in a rough form, then 10 years later, if you had to do that, A, it's more difficult, but B, just the cost of goods has gone up dramatically. So you will save yourself thousands, tens of thousands of dollars by doing a few small things up front.